Welcome to our explainer. For this video overview, the INEX team is pulling back the curtain on the web to look at the hidden logic that makes it all work. You know, it's something you use every single day, but you probably never even see it. The structure of modern HTML. Okay, so let's just dive right in with a problem that I promise you every single web developer has faced. This question from Reddit, it gets right to the heart of a huge challenge. How do you build a website efficiently without driving yourself crazy? And this really is the classic developer's dilemma. I mean, if you've got a site with, say, a home page, an about page, and a contact page, you are not going to want to copy and paste that navigation bar or footer into every single file. It's a total maintenance nightmare. Imagine you have to change one link. You'd have to go edit every page. There has to be a better way, right? To really understand the modern solution, we need to hop in our time machine for a second and look at how websites used to be built. Because believe me, the web wasn't always this organized. Back in the days of HTML4, developers had a pretty limited toolbox for creating layouts. You can see the difference so clearly right here. On the left, you've got what we call div soup. Everything, and I mean everything, was just wrapped in a generic div tag. To tell them apart, you'd slap an ID on it, like header or nav. But here's the kicker. To a machine, like a browser or a search engine, the word div means absolutely nothing. It's just a generic box. It has no meaning at all. Yeah, the old way had some serious headaches. If you wanted to play a video or audio, you had to use things like Flash, which was a whole can of worms with security and performance. Your code was just this sea of generic divs, which made it super hard to read and basically impossible for assistive tech to figure out. And want a simple date picker on a form? Forget it. You had to build that yourself from scratch. So the answer to all this mess finally came with HTML5. And it wasn't just a small update. It was a massive, almost philosophical shift in how we write for the web. And it's all built around this powerful idea of semantic elements. And this gets us to the core idea here, semantics. It's just a fancy word that means the code itself describes its own purpose. So instead of using a generic, meaningless docs, you use a tag that tells the browser exactly what kind of stuff it's holding. And here they are, the stars of the show. Tags like header, nav, main, and footer, they aren't just there to look pretty for developers. They're like a universal language. They create this clear, logical map of your web page that browsers, search engines, and screen readers can understand in an instant. It's like giving your website a proper skeleton. Okay, so what? Why does this actually matter? Well, this is the crucial point. This isn't just about making code look neat and tidy. Using semantic HTML unlocks some huge, real-world benefits for every single person who uses your site. And the first big payoff is a much, much better and more accessible user experience. I mean, just think about that for a second. When the browser knows what a piece of content is, it can automatically make it better. You get powerful new features built right in, and you didn't have to write a single extra line of code to get them. This is the perfect example of that in action. Back in the day, you got a basic text box for everything. But now, with HTML5, if you tell the browser, hey, I want a date, boom, it gives the user a full calendar. If you say you want a color, you get a color wheel. This is semantics at work. The browser understands what you mean, and it gives the user the best possible tool for the job. And don't just take my word for it. The Mozilla Developer Network, which is basically the encyclopedia for web developers, calls the input element one of the most powerful in all of HTML. It's just a fantastic example of how giving code meaning empowers the browser to do the heavy lifting for you. And ultimately, this clear structure is the absolute cornerstone of web accessibility. For someone with a disability who's using a screen reader, a semantic layout is the difference between a website that's easy to navigate and one that's just an incomprehensible mess. It directly supports what we call the 4 principles of accessibility, making the web perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust for every single person. So that clarity doesn't just help humans. It builds right into another huge payoff. Because it's not just for people and their browsers, it's also for the bots. specifically the little search engine bots that crawl all over the web. This quote here from the Workable Tech blog just nails it. You've heard of SEO, right? Search engine optimization. It's really all about user experience. And a huge piece of that is making your website's content and structure crystal clear to search engines like Google. And guess what? Semantic HTML is basically their native language. When a Googlebot comes to your site, it doesn't just read the words. It's actively looking for these semantic signposts. It sees an article tag and goes, okay, this is a self-contained story. It sees an H1 and thinks, aha, this must be the main topic. This clear structure lets it index your page way more accurately, which has a direct impact on how high you show up in search results. So we have better accessibility and we have better SEO. What's the big idea, the grand philosophy that ties all this together? Well, it's a foundational principle for building on the web, and it's called progressive enhancement. It's a really beautiful, simple, user-first idea. You start with the most important thing, the content. You make absolutely sure that the core information, the basic functionality of your site, is available to everyone, on every device, no matter what. Think of it like building with layers. Your foundation, layer 1, is that rock-solid, meaningful HTML. It has to work everywhere. Then you add layer 2, the presentation, the paint on the walls. That's your CSS. Finally, you add layer 3, the behavior, the fancy bells and whistles. That's your JavaScript. This way, if someone's browser is old and can't handle layer 3, the whole thing doesn't just break. They still get a perfectly good working site with layers 1 and 2. It's brilliant, so let's bring it all home. We started with a simple, common complaint from a developer about copying and pasting code. But as we've seen, the solution, semantic HTML, is about so much more than that. It makes your code meaningful, it directly improves things for all your users, it gives you a huge boost in search engines. And it's the foundation of a really smart, responsible way to build for the web. This unseen structure, it really is the invisible architecture holding up the modern web. And understanding it isn't just some nerdy technical skill. It's the key to creating better, faster, and more inclusive experiences for everyone online. So the only question left is, now that you know, what are you going to build with it? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.